All right, guys. So, can someone explain to me why Domino's seems to really hate blind people or, disabled people as a whole? Because I don't understand why pizza has gotten so political lately.
The short answer is, they're not legally obligated not to hate them. So
I understand that pizza is code, for children in some circles. But I just think it's really ridiculous that Domino's just is taking this weird stance with the Supreme Court. That they're saying, like, I'm not sure that we have to follow the ADA rules on anything,
Dumb and awful, more like Domino's is awful.
Nice.
So what?
Nice.
It's expensive to design software and to design your, your physical locations with disabilities in mind.
Yeah, I couldn't tell from the article what exactly they were doing wrong. Apparently, their website isn't like compliant with like auto text to speech apps. Is that the idea?
Screen readers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what are they using? Like Flash still or something?
Let's
there are
take a
too
look.
many advertisements on the pages. It's just really hard to, fit the advertisements in and make it compliant.
I actually listened to all these articles while I was gardening today, so I had a little bit of the experience of what somebody with vision impairment would be seeing, but I didn't actually check out the Domino's site in particular.
So I just loaded up the Domino's site actually, and as somebody who is sighted, Jesus Christ, this is a terrible fucking website. I can't imagine, just the denseness of text on here. I can't imagine, sitting through, a half hour of, choose any two or more for $5.99 each, and then, fucking 30 other things on there.
Now, in Domino's defense, they probably are also saying, listen, we're the type of company that we sell pizzas to for $5.99 each here. We're not exactly the highest tier grade of all of this. So let's just give some nice acceptance into the website that was probably designed by an unpaid intern. Okay, Terry does great work.
So apparently they've been pretty busy though, filling potholes, because apparently this is like the number one issue in every single small city in town, and because I guess the Domino's cars were taking so much damage just riding around on shitty unpaved streets that they started filling potholes and then spray painting the Domino's logo over every pothole that they fixed.
Jesus,
I love it.
How soon until some gang decides to adopt the Domino's logo? So that way then people are like, I'm not so sure about this neighborhood. Has a lot of Domino's signs on the road.
I gotta stop looking at this website. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, despite being absolutely garbage pizza, it at least does look appealing on the website.
I gotta get off this website. I'm starting to think bad things about blind people.
Oh no. How much more expensive is like a Uber Eats pizza from some pizza shop than a Domino's pizza? Because that's your only other option if you want pizza, then, right?
What kind of pizza shop are you talking about exactly?
I don't know, like in a New York pizzeria. I mean, here in Texas, it's not.
I was
pizza.
about no. Yeah, okay, in New York maybe, but
New York
yeah,
pizza
in the
Texas,
Houston suburbs that we're broadcasting out of, it's like some classic pizzeria like Pizza Hut, it's something authentic with the cheese-filled poppers, whatever the fuck that creation is.
I mean, Little Caesar is Italian, so that's about as fucking authentic as you can get.
Nice. As somebody who is walking here, pizza is a really big deal around here.
I love it.
I guess that is a cultural thing a little bit in between Houston and New York and the areas surrounding a little bit, because I don't think Houstonians really care about food all that much. Like, I'm sure there are foodies, don't get me wrong, but like the idea of Domino's is much more of a mainstay, I would assume, in this area than probably in a place that's a little bit denser and, let's be honest, has much, much, much better options.
Yeah, around here, it's like pizza wars. There's so many pizzerias.
You guys have like 19 Joe's Pizzas, right?
Yeah, well, we live in upstate, so I'm in a town called Troy, New York, which is just outside of Albany. It's like a 50,000 person town, but it's got like 24 pizzerias.
Wow.
Fuck yeah.
The government
Super,
should honestly step in, place a cap on the number of pizza places per citizen that's allowed. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of mom and pops, so you really have a big wide variety to fill your cheesy quota.
Like, all right, it's going to be like driving in Mexico City. Like every Tuesday and Thursday, this shop is shut down. Every Wednesday and Friday, this shop is shut down. We're making things a little bit more equitable for everyone. We're trying not to bog down too much.
Hey, thank you so super much.
Competition is, driving us out of business, literally.
I don't know why.
If every company can afford to set their sinks at, what's
Awesome.
ADA height? Like 30, between 32 and 36
I was gonna
inches?
say, yeah, that
like,
looks,
every
looks
company
really good.
can spend a little bit of money redesigning their website.
Italiano.
Not that their website doesn't need it already, and telling them, hey, you got to make it better. Wouldn't just be the swift kick in the pants that they need.
Yeah, I mean, even Papa John's website was ADA compliant. It screamed a bunch of racial slurs at you while you were trying to order.
But at least,
Yeah, you gotta
but
sit
at
through
least they
a
could
good
read
5-minute lecture by Papa John himself on like the fucking bell curve or something until you can order your pizza.
Oh no!
I mean, like, I really love their garlic crust, but I didn't need that 9-minute lecture on why the Fountainhead was a masterpiece. It just seemed so unnecessary.
Better genetics, better pizza.
Psychic Dolphin Garage.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Psychic Dolphin Garage. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kelton. You can find me on Twitter at SexConfetti. Joining me today is my good buddy Zach. How's it going?
It's going great. It's a great day. Fall is finally here. I'm ready to experience the pumpkin spice latte for the next 3 months, and then it will be summer again. We also have Bo with us.
Hey, how's it going, folks? I'm at Schnedweb on Twitter. Fall's been nice. I don't know if y'all got the little cold snap we did, all the way down in Houston, but let me tell you, it's gonna really suck shit when it gets warm again because it's October in Texas.
Yeah, joining us today is our buddy Chris from the Ironweeds podcast. How's it going?
Yo, what up? Things are good. I'm a little envious of the fact that you guys said it was going to be summer in 3 months, because in upstate New York, winter lasts about half the year.
Yeah, we get a solid 2.5 weeks of winter that we just really go all out for. We're like, this shitty mud ice. We're going to call it snow.
Yeah,
this
literally,
is fantastic.
literally walking around over the weekend, I saw people in like it was like maybe 50 degrees at the coldest, and people were walking around in full on like Arctic explorer gear. Like we don't know what to do when it gets below 60. It's tragic.
Yeah, I'm a cyclist year round, and so getting
Braver than the
to
troops.
work.
Yeah,
I mean, I basically have two conditions. It's either like t-shirt weather or balaclava weather, and so I wear balaclava for about 6 months of the year.
That's great.
But it's really convenient because if you want to jump off and like do some dirt, you have a really good excuse
absolutely.
to be wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I'm just really looking forward to me walking around in shorts and sandals and people really assuming that I'm from Wisconsin or somewhere. They're like, no, I'm from another shithole in the Midwest. Leave me alone. Okay?
Nice. Where are you from?
Oh, Michigan.
Ah, cool.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not about where you came from. It's about where you're going.
I'm gonna make it a mission to alienate every one of these 50 great states somehow. I'm not keeping like a running list or anything yet, but I'm sure I've covered a decent swath of the continental U.S.
Yeah, Iowa, you deserve it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Not even
what you did.
Iowa's not even worth mentioning.
Yeah, well, before we dive too deep into the episode, just wanted to give people an announcement that we finally got our Patreon up. So go ahead and not support us on there. We really look forward to us pestering you once a week with a little bit of announcements and things that we might be doing on there. Once we reach $150 a month, we're going to try and do a bonus episode every week, and we're already doing one main show, 2 Twitch shows, and then a side series, but we know that y'all deserve more because all of our listeners listen to these episodes at 3 times speed at some factory job or a gas station or what have you.
Just to absolutely get them over with, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're just here to help you plug the void, okay? And if we can do that a little bit more, then that means we're doing something right. But in the meantime, y'all can also hang out with us on Discord because there's always fun shit happening there. Once again, Sports Discord is slowly starting to take over. The Gaming Discord had a brief moment in the sun where they decided to try and rise up like the gamers they were. But then Thursday Night Football kicked in and the order was restored.
Yes, the Discord wars.
I hate myself, and I hate you more. Additionally, we're doing a quest for 100 iTunes reviews. Once we get to 100, we're going to be doing a T-shirt giveaway, and reviews really help us somehow. I don't know how. I'm terrible at that part of what I'm responsible for, so my apologies to the co-hosts. Our review of the week comes from Emo Mix Rogers, who says, I like podcasts, I like these folks, and yeah, like Beep Beep Lettuce, but Southern. They also continue on, but, I gotta keep things clicking along. So if you want more of the review, just check it out and leave a review yourself. You can also check us out on Redbubble, but that doesn't matter as much right now, because we have failed to get those T-shirt designs to y'all.
Hey, man.
So it's okay.
Yeah. It's all right.
Giving the people what they want, one tiny little spoonful at a time, right?
If you give them too much, they'll be overwhelmed with the mouthfeel.
That's right. Be grateful, you little piss pigs. What? Too far. Sorry. Got carried away there. But you know what else was getting carried away?
Oh, yeah? What?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. No, the American coverage of China, now that China's going through their 70th anniversary,
Oh, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone has China in their sights. South Park, NBA, Last Week Tonight, Blizzard. It's really the whole gambit. No matter what social circle you run in, even if you're in the most weird apolitical bit, it seems like China popped up. Now, Chris, I don't know. You mentioned that you were doing gardening earlier. Are you in any gardening, either Facebook groups or forums or anything like that?
No, just local community gardening groups. And I also have a garden in the my backyard. But yeah, China's going crazy right now, in terms of American attention.
Yeah, I was literally I was about to say I wouldn't be surprised at all if somehow the Chinese discussion came up in gardening Facebook groups, just because it seems like that would be an area where everything would really flourish.
Yeah, no, that big gardening streamer, backed the Hong Kong protesters and, gardening game
banned
company.
for 60 days and not allowed to harvest soybeans whatsoever.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks for salvaging that trash joke. Yeah.
So this was a Blizzard game that shut down the player?
Yeah, Hearthstone.
Blizzard,
right?
the company. He was a Hearthstone player, and he came out during one of the interviews and was like, at the end, his sign off was like, "I support Hong Kong," and they were like, yeah, you're fired. The 2 casters that were underneath the desk, because that's where they sit as we transition between parts. Those guys were also fired. I imagine that the camera crew also was fired.
Well, to be fair, Blizzard then was like, actually, we went a little too harshly. You're all just suspended without pay for 6 months. So,
oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be a pretty fun game we could play. What is the penalty? Did you say something bad about China, or did you shoot an unarmed black man? What loses you more time from your job?
Jesus.
Hang on, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, you just fucking pile drive that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, sorry. I'm coming in a little hot because I mean, it seems like at least from the social media feeds that I've seen on Facebook or even on some Reddit threads and just Twitter in general, that there seems to be this belief that it's the Illuminati and we're all being controlled and blah blah blah, and
It's capitalism.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a coordinated strategy because it seemed like this is the time. It isn't like, this is just what they want you to think. It's, no, this is the 70th anniversary, so everyone's piling on all at once.
Yeah, and also, the spectacle really rules the day, and like that military parade where like all these soldiers were almost like automatons just following Xi's face like in slow motion, and like the giant missiles through the streets. It was quite a spectacle.
You know, Trump was just having an absolute bitch fit.
Oh,
wondering
totally.
Why the
Yeah.
fuck he couldn't have something so cool?
He's been fucking straining and struggling for a big ass military parade ever since he got into office, and like, I guarantee you, the whole time he's thinking maybe communism is good actually.
Yes, classical checking notes here. Communist China.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I say
Oh,
communist, of
all
course,
right.
with a big fucking asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, we're not going to say anything bad about China, not because we fear China, but because we fear losing our listeners. Y'all are some real open-minded
bitches.
folks, for sure.
Oh,
But,
Good.
yep.
No, a moment ago, actually, though, I think Zach touched on a good point that, a lot of the ire here, kind of bring it back around to, like especially the South Park and the Blizzard and all that garbage. A lot of the ire here is kind of being directed at China as like a, it's China's fault that these companies are self-censoring or being censored. I mean, in South Park's case. So that's not as relevant.
Censoring.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're doing it because they don't want to not make as much money.
Yeah, the Riot Games world's competition is happening right now, and they've also warned all of their players. There is actually a team called Hong Kong.
Oh wow!
And so they had to put out like a bulletin that was like, "Hey, by the way, this team is called Hong Kong. Don't take anything our casters say out of context.
Just the name of the place.
It's literally just the name of the team. They're not saying anything about Hong Kong.
well, I mean, to be fair, the other teams, Donkey and Diddy, really weren't forced to change their team names. So,
yucky. Yeah, no, it's just a bid to not upset their profit motive in order to to maintain the value that they derive from the labor of their gamers.
I mean, I think something that should really show exactly how powerful China is that you have Tim Cook of Apple trying to explain why the fuck he decided to pull an app that the Hong Kong protesters were using. And keep in mind, this is Apple, the same Apple who was like, we don't give a fuck what people do on your iPhones. We're not submitting to shit.
Yeah, $1 company, Apple. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's also, the same company that uses Foxconn manufacturing in China to make their iPhones that install things like, I don't know, suicide prevention nets in the barrack-style housing facilities for the people that, when they're going to make a change at the last minute, get woken up at 3 a.m. with a biscuit and a cup of tea to sit down for a 14-hour shift.
Yep.
Hey, don't talk about our military like that. Those barracks are nice.
I was about to say, the company in the memo stated it built its employees outside trampoline building themes, and so that no one should think anything bad about this. That's
Yeah, it's
why
basically
they
Sky
put those
Zone.
nets out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't like a good night out at Sky Zone?
Yeah, no, there really is no good guy in this fucking whole situation of the weird, sad interaction between like the American, American commerce and Chinese commerce.
The American industrial complex.
It's where they make more Americans to make more Americans. Yeah, I don't fucking... Anyway, yeah, because everybody's like either an idiot or bad, but I think we can all agree that the really the worst contender in this entire arena has to be just gamers, just in general.
I mean, they're certainly not coming off looking great about this, but the thing that surprised me was that China is 70 years old. You know, it's Hillary Clinton is older than China.
Well, I mean, to be fair, China's like thousands of years old.
Yeah.
They're actually,
the setup, if you excuse me for one goddamn second, the setup then was that, does that mean that China is a boomer and then all of their behaviors are therefore justified? Sirs.
Fair enough.
Yeah, she fucking cracks open a white sugar-free Monster or whatever, before he starts his day.
Oh, no.
Censoring
She
companies.
is opening up a couple packs of Sweet and Low.
Is that a boomer thing? Is that a thing boomers
Sweet
do?
Sweet and low is the thing the boomers do. Do you not know what sweet and low is?
I'm talking about the 30-year-old boomer thing.
When was the last
that
time you went
classic
to a Chili's, huh?
No,
last time you spoke
I've
to
worked
your
in a restaurant. I
grandmother,
know
Bo.
that boomers
Huh?
will grab like a fistful of sweetener and like do fucking fat lines of it off the table, but like
Yeah, but see, it's Sweet and Low because that's the sweetener, the artificial sweetener that was marketed to them when they were told that they could hide under their desks and that would save them from nuclear explosions. So,
Speaking of which, what's the Zoomer equivalent for preparation for nuclear holocaust?
do a Fortnite
oh.
dance while the bombs fall.
Yeah, I think you're right.
overdosing on benzos.
I mean, we're back into the like hiding under your desk in the schoolroom,
But now
waiting for the bombs to hit.
Yeah.
Because they were there because of the school shooting, but then like the bombs dropped and they're like, oh well. Thank God we were already under here.
That is so dark.
So bleak.
Yeah. Oh, God, I can only imagine. There's probably going to be some horror movie made with that premise, right? That, like a bomb drill goes off and they're being attacked. And so you think it's going to be like Red Dawn, only one of the kids inside has also snapped. And so then
Jesus.
there's a mass shooter in the hallway. So then it's a survival style movie.
Yeah, one of
It's,
those garbage, like stressful, just exhausting to watch kind of movies. Yeah, I can see that.
Stars
It's
9
just-
people who got famous from YouTube and TikTok.
Oh no,
That's just a battle royale, but
worse.
in America.
a million times worse.
And can be made on an operations budget of like $300,000. You hear me, Netflix?
They've legalized concealed carry for some teachers, right?
Yes, they have.
So
Yay, Texas especially.
Yeah.
Texas and Florida, holding it
Yeah,
down.
our teachers. Honestly, I would sooner trust our teachers with guns than our fucking cops.
I mean,
well, at least they'll stay in the building.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Hey, look, I just won't send my kids to that school. Like, it's not like I have to worry about, every cop, or every school teacher. It's just, just a few bad cheap.
It's just a few bad apples. Is that what you're
that
bad.
sucks.
Yep.
That's great.
I don't know how I messed that up. That's the easiest like slam dunk on teachers. and
How-
I somehow.
How long do you think it's going to take till one of the teachers gets caught on video just pulling out the piece and threatening a student who isn't, carrying a loaded gun?
Oh, I guarantee you, like,
Oh,
that
man.
hasn't-
like within the year,
There is
easy.
definitely a teacher that has already done that. Like, even though they're not allowed to have guns.
Cop teacher versus mass shooter. Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, your shitty fucking Netflix original pitch just went from Red Dawn to Die Hard.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys have seen Kindergarten Cop, right? We're going to play a little game. It's called Who's Your Daddy and What Does He Do?
I love this.
God.
It really it would be an absolutely American thing if they were to then announce that every teacher was going to be replaced by a cop. So just every cop is now a teacher in America.
No.
Yeah, no, we just turn the cops like we support our cops so much that that we just want them to be. It's a prerequisite that you have to be a cop to hold any position, to have a job, to run for office. You have to be a cop. You have to be a cop if you, if you want to buy a car. Your credit score is based on how many people you shot as a cop.
Ooh,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, full Starship Troopers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. We've been accelerating towards that for years now, so
Yeah.
I don't see what the problem is here.
Now, have you guys been following the efforts by Never Again Atlanta to try and give job training and replacement for ICE officers that want to get out of the family breakup racket?
Yeah, no, I saw something
Really?
about that actually. Which,
No, that's badass.
yeah, right? I mean, like, yeah, they suck for working there in the first place, but I mean, like, fucking at least try and wash your hands of it,
Yeah,
Left Twitter is already mad at them. I bet their left Twitter is like, hey, instead of helping these animals get jobs that aren't killing people, why not just, I don't know, gulag them?
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe in a better world, yeah, they would be at like a fucking like, I mean, quite literally like a re-education camp, not to use the fucking cliche of like, hey, okay, here's some fucking jobs training. Also, you're here for 6 months at least.
Yeah. I mean, basically, left Twitter is all about the scolding. It's always like, well, how is this not woke enough? How can I problematize this thing that, at worst is harm reduction?
Yeah.
It's only the female ICE officer that went viral that's actually allowed to go through the training process, though.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we have a local ex-mayor who's like a GOP anti-immigrant guy, and within like 2 minutes of Ice Bay being a thing, he was already following her on Twitter.
Jesus.
Of course.
I mean, like, it really is weird to see the people that, especially ex-mayors and those that level, that tier of conservative follow online. Because it's like Ice Bay, Gun Girl, Tommy Lahren. Tony Lahren?
Tommy Lasagna.
Yep.
There we go.
Tony Tone.
Her, and then like Kevin Sorbo. Like, those are the people that they follow.
Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Oh God, how could I forget? Oh yes, it's lovely. It's fantastic.
Have you guys ever seen the Steven Seagal Putin meetings?
Oh yeah, it's so fucking surreal. I mean, like, going back, speaking of bad action movies, like, I think Steven Seagal was maybe like hit in the head trying to do one of his own stunts or something, and now thinks he just lives in one of his own movies.
Apparently, he has been a LAPD officer the entire time. He's been a action film star.
Oh yeah, he was like deputized or something. Yeah.
In
So,
Arizona, he used a tank to try and like kill a guy who was running a chicken farm.
What?
Yeah.
Do you guys
It was
have
like-
show notes?
No,
wanna
this is
see
all
this.
riff, all off the cuff, baby.
out
Yeah.
of your fucking encyclopedic knowledge of Steven Seagal.
Listen, the dude is an absolute bastard, okay? And
Yeah.
like, when you set up a Google News alert for chicken and tank,
You'll get a lot, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah. But when you do, and it involves Steven Seagal, you remember that shit,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, so
Oh.
that's the thing, is that the bar for being a cop is so low that Steven Seagal can do it. I mean, maybe not stylishly, but competently enough that he hasn't murdered anyone unjustly that we know of.
Well,
I
mean,
disagree.
there was that
That's-
whole tank thing.
I mean, his career, huh? Am I right?
Nice, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the fact that like fucking like an idiot like Steven Seagal can do just fine as a police officer, or put a fucking asterisk on that. I'm sure he wasn't fucking hitting the pavement every day, but still. And there are these other constant stories of like the Josh Brown stuff coming out recently about like the very normal murder of that dude that happened in Dallas. Or
Yeah, what the
yeah.
fuck happened there?
So essentially, he testified in the trial of Amber Geiger, the cop who wandered into the wrong apartment and shot an innocent man in Dallas.
As you do.
Year prior, as one does. That's a very, very normal thing for a person to do. And then just like literally a couple days after his testimony, he was I think shot in the abdomen and face. And just what the police are saying is basically basically like some sort of drug deal related thing when the dude has like no history of that kind of thing.
Drove in from Louisiana, so like 5 hours, to buy weed, killed the guy that they were buying it from, and left the weed and the money behind.
Huh. And so this man died in his home?
He died in the parking lot
he was
of
shot,
the apartment.
Outside. I think like not downtown quite, but like just like outside of downtown.
Were there any security cameras or anything like that? Is it an ongoing investigation?
Oh yeah, it's ongoing, but I mean, it's
biggest
quote,
air
unquote,
quotes around
ongoing. That. Yeah, it's I mean, DPD is just incredibly fucking scummy.
Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was Dallas the one that had the first to use a drone to kill someone on American soil?
Yep.
You remember correctly.
Yeah,
that was
who was that
ago,
guy? It was like a black guy that was taking the ward of the cops in a parking garage or something like that.
Yep.
And he was like ex-military, and he was doing like quick peeks and stuff around to like pillars and shit, and he was holed up in a parking garage, and they ended up sending in one of those bomb defusal robots just with a bomb strapped to it, and they detonated it as soon as they
that poor little robot didn't sign up for this job.
But
the tiny little kids that had the little circuit boards at home wondering where's Papa.
Yeah. But being a cop, it's a really dangerous job. Like in New York City, you work around a lot of dangerous people. So there were 2 NYPD officers that were shot dead on the job this year. Both were shot dead by fellow cops in friendly fire incidents.
Damn.
Yep.
I mean, normally I don't like to give huge props to cops, but I mean, thank you for your service, I guess.
What was that story that happened
boys in
a
blue.
couple weeks ago? Or it's probably a few months ago now in Houston about the plainclothes cops, Zach?
They did that no-knock raid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's still under investigation too. Like they did a no-knock raid, and
plainclothes cops
like,
coming from the front, plainclothes cops coming from the back.
Like five of them were shot. Like 2 of them died, I think, and
Jesus.
they were like, "Oh, they shot at us because they're drug kingpins." Neither of the people were actually armed. They had like guns in the house, so they were like, they shot at us, but there was no evidence that they had discharged.
To fucking, I mean, bringing that back around to the Steven Seagal thing, these guys are all just Steven Seagal, is the fucking problem. Like, the kind of dude who signs up to be a cop has Steven Seagal brain. And so you end up with these situations where it's like, these plainclothes cops shooting one another, or to tie it back to the just parade of shittiness that is the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Tatiana Jefferson being shot literally this weekend. On a wellness check of all things, where her neighbor called the non-emergency 911 line, or non-emergency, police line, I guess, to report that her front door was open. This officer sees a person moving around from the outside through the window. And literally within seconds of saying, raise your hands, just shoots through the window and, kills her.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, like I said, these people are, half joking, but I guarantee you a lot of them do go out into their fucking day job thinking, oh, I'm an action movie hero. I might have to shoot somebody, and it'll be justified because they're the bad guy. It's.
But they're also scared. Like they're all like so panicky and scared, even though like the rates of violence toward police are like at an all-time low, and
because they have to be. They're trained to be. That's how they win court cases. That's how they stay out of trouble. That's how they toe the thin blue line.
So
and if you look into their training, they have people that come and they tell them, hey. here's how you win cases. Here's what you say when you shoot somebody. It doesn't matter what actually happened.
Yeah.
The unspoken creed is that they'll cover it up no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, they also, in most departments, they have a 60-day deletion period, so anything longer than 60 days usually gets erased from record. And then also, cops have this weird thing in some places of where they're allowed to see the footage and the evidence before they have to give their statement. So, they're like, tell me what you know first, and then I'll say what I did.
So I don't know if you guys have been tuning in for a while to Ironweeds, but we covered a police murder that was recently exposed to be covered up. Back in 2016, there was a officer named Sergeant Randall French, and he was doing a DUI stop in downtown, or actually like north central Troy, and ended up basically the guy that he pulled over allegedly fled the stop, and when trying to get onto the local highway, ran the gentleman's car into a concrete barrier, and then proceeded to jump out of the car and shoot him dead point blank through the windshield.
Fuck.
Yeah, and at first the media covered it that there was a stop, and that this man Edson Thevenin that was killed had rammed his car into Sergeant French somehow, who was outside the car, and when he was pinned against this concrete barrier, that's when he opened fire. But a while went by, and some of the people who were eyewitnesses had the audacity of actually coming forward and reporting to the police what they saw. And what's insane is that the Troy PD actually had an officer that put together a really detailed forensic internal investigation that proved that the officer's account was absolutely incredulous and unbelievable, and that he lied, and that he did reckless endangerment by crashing the suspect's car into the barrier, and then proceeded to get out of the car, fire at one position, and then put himself in between the concrete barrier and Edson's car, where he fired several more times and killed Edson. And that this was all covered up by the mayor, who's a Democrat, and the chief of police. They went out and there was actually 2 internal investigations. I think the state attorney general's office did another one that was even more extensive and lengthy. And both of them found the officer to be at fault, and it would to be essentially a homicide or manslaughter at the minimum, and murder at the worst. But the state DA, I think, Joel Abalov, within 3 days of the incident, put the officer that had shot Edson in front of a grand jury and promised him immunity. So I don't know anything about law, but apparently he's like untouchable now.
Yeah, that seems a little not law to me.
Yeah, and
like
so
they put him maybe above the law.
yeah. So Abalov actually had to, I think, resign because of this. But the mayor and the chief,
he just liked his job.
Yeah, the chief of police actually went out and hired the ex-chief of police of one of the towns over to do a second internal investigation or whatever, external investigation, and they put forward a memo that was like a quarter of the size of the previous internal investigation that basically argued on psychological grounds. It's still secret because it's part of an ongoing civil rights lawsuit with the widow. Yeah. But the original investigation was leaked to the widow, who then gave it to the local paper, and so it's all published. And so you can look it up online. Edson Thevenin, Sergeant French, you'll find it. And basically, there's a core group of about 40 to 50 people who, are all sort of progressive-y type people. They all typically vote Democrat, and they're trying to get the Democratic mayor to resign and end the cover-up. But all of the city council in Troy on the Democrat and Republican side are basically being mum about it. And there's an election that's happening, I think, next week or something, or coming up in early November. And there's no good option. Every single person who's running would have either done the exact same thing or is letting it happen and not saying anything and not calling for the mayor to resign. So us at Ironweeds have been trying to push anybody who's, listening to this or otherwise that thinks that's really fucked up to basically reach out to these people directly and just tell them that. We're going to, keep bird dogging the mayor and trying to bring some extra, sunlight to this, and hopefully get him to resign and the chief of police step down.
Fuck yes. That would be amazing. Yeah. And I mean, that's the way to do it. Get fucking involved with like local government and like really fucking, hold their goddamn feet to the flames, because there's no other way of doing it besides wink wink,
Yeah, it's fucking depressing. I ended up running for city council for the Green Party because I was essentially asked to, but we got rat fucked during this thing where basically it's called fusion voting, where the Republicans actually stole the Green Party line by having a bunch of Republicans join as the Green Party as like secret Republicans, and then show up on primary day and write in the Republican candidate. So then when people go to the ballot, they have like they can vote in upstate New York. You can vote for the same candidate on different ballot lines. So it's really confusing to the average voter, because they're like, oh, wow, this must be like a really progressive Republican. I guess I'll vote for them.
That is not just rat fuck. That is whatever rats call rat fucking. Like, that's horrible. Jesus.
Pizza rat fuck is what it's called.
Yeah, so local politics, I think, are dog shit everywhere, I guess, is sort of my recent analysis.
Yeah. Fuck.
Absolutely. I respect our buddy Marshall a lot more for kind of what he does, because he's
shout out to Young Marsh.
Shout out to Young Marsh. He shows up to like city council meetings and sits through city council meetings, and he like calls like local representatives idiots to their faces inside of city council meetings.
Nice.
And it's actually like almost inspirational, because that's that's the energy we need. It's
just
not
1,000
change.
Yeah, we need like 1,000 times more of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's not going to change much, because I mean the people that are doing it don't care. The people that would hold them accountable don't care. The FBI has investigated the FBI and said that the FBI is not to blame for this.
Yeah.
Kind of style stuff, but it's.
But yeah, it's crazy that even when like if you were to define a good cop as like one that holds bad cops accountable, like even when they exist, like ACAB for real, but like even when they like the 1 in a million chance where they try, they still can't, because of the vast majority of the rest of them. They're like, no, shut the fuck up or we'll shoot you.
Yeah.
Literally.
Like, straight up, though. I mean, they shot a fucking, somebody who, legally testified against them. Like, I guarantee you they're going to do the same, at least to, fucking, to their, to any quote-unquote turncoats, Yeah,
like, did you ever hear the This American Life with Schoolhouse? He was an NYPD officer. He basically started bringing a recorder to work because his commanding officer was getting on his ass about the unofficial quota. And just saying, hey, we need some arrests. When you see, the boys hanging on the block, you're not going to stop. You're not going to ask them what's up. You're not going to smell, something, et cetera. And so he just kept the recorder in his pocket, because, like, he was one of those like good cops, like in fucking Training Day and shit, the
not director's cut of Training Day.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen the director's cut, but the protagonist in that movie. So just somebody trying to do the right thing within a system that they totally don't understand is just a gang. And he basically they tried to commit him for mental illness, because he wasn't doing anything other than not complying with the quota system, and like only because of the existence of these like hidden recorders, he had a case that he could bring to a lawyer, and then they ended up like basically backing down from it. But it's really interesting. If you guys have like show notes with the podcast, I'll send you guys the link to it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good listen for sure.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, like that's like movie shit.
Oh, it
yeah,
absolutely
you
is.
see that in the movie. That's absolutely like the good cop sees that. He's like, oh yeah, I'll fix this. And then the system is so fucked and unable to actually address issues like that you can't actually fix it. you're like, how do you go home at night, and how does that not eat away at you? Like,
oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does
Yeah,
until
that
you
poor
comply.
guy, like-
You know. Oh, it was Schoolcraft. That was what Adrian Schoolcraft.
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you
There's
a
no
link.
way that guy doesn't have like PTSD from,
Oh, yeah.
from wanting to be. How did he even make it past the psychological testing? Really?
Oh, I don't.
That's the real question I have. Like you know
like a
that all
trolley
that the
problem.
testing that they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In the interview, there's a trolley problem where one of the tracks is empty and one of the tracks just has just tons and tons of people on it, and it's like, which one would you choose? And yeah, if you
I know
don't
that
pull the
they-
lever, you don't get the job.
I know that they do have a maximum IQ that they let in. That they.
Yeah, which that is, I mean, especially taking into the whole like the background of IQ as a tool for like racialization or whatever. Like,
Oh yeah.
fucking, it's like, okay, we don't want our servants of the state to be too, we want. I'm sure whoever
understand
was
the
designing
game.
the rule back in the day was like, we want some Irishmen or some Germans or somebody with a certain brain pan to
Yeah.
to
As
dishing out
100%.
punishment.
As a 100% Irish person, I totally stand by you being able to say that.
Oh no! Some of my best friends are Irish. It's fine. I can
I'm
say
really
I
looking
can say the
forward
P
to-
word.
I'm really looking forward to being able to say now to people, oh yeah, no, I wanted to be a cop, but I was too smart for it.
It's like the fucking like sad I could have gone pro, not for my bum knee, but
Yeah, exactly.
I could have been a tool of the white supremacist carceral state, not for my big fucking brain.
Yeah,
well, when you
doctor
say it like
says
that.
I had shotgunned a few more natty lights in high school. Could have made it, but
Doc said I was one more meth bender away from it.
the idea of like some methed out cops really is like, oh god, that's horrifying. But then
We
realizing
keep-
that they're all like on Adderall anyway is just like, ah.
Do you guys ever think about, like the fantasy of like a post like revolution America and like how we would go about doing public safety?
I've
don't
read
think-
some interesting shit, just about like community policing and like rather than having a very top down kind of thing, it's more a community focused kind of thing.
Yeah, or
Which
what,
I'm
or
too
the
dumb
idea of,
to remember. Shit, I might actually be able to sign up. No, which like, but like, yeah, like a lot more like basically anarchist takes on how to keep the peace, so to speak, because that's ostensibly what these people are supposed to be doing. But my main problem with like the idea of like especially police as they exist now in America, especially, but just more generally, is like I was saying earlier, the kind of person who signs up, to be a cop and wants to,
self-selecting.
yeah, is not going to be good, probably generally, but especially not in America, in our culture, and just the way we have things set up here.
Yeah, to get over that, like it would have to be like some type of like lottery system, or maybe no career cops. So you can't have like a culture of us versus them. Like you have,
Yeah.
maybe some administrators so that they can like keep, institutional memory of like, various useful lessons. But the vast majority of beat cops only really being there for like 4 years. And that way, they're always super fit. They're, always like at the prime of their life, and they don't have like a, embattled sense of isolation in a literal gang war.
Yeah, essentially, we need to outlaw any sort of feeling, anything that would lead to cops feeling like they should buy those dumb fucking, rather their spouses should buy. My husband is a crazy cop who was born in March, and fucking. I mean, those shouldn't exist, period. But yeah,
I just really like the idea now of a whole bunch of leftists gathering together with a general critique of, how conservatives will complain, be like, you see this is a career politician, blah, 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 blah. Or like, you see this is a career cop. Couldn't make it anywhere else, just had to decide. This is it. This is all that it'll take me because I'm a dumb fuck. So
Yeah. if people are into incrementalism, one way I think that you could do away with a lot of these, itchy trigger fingers and everything else is just like simple shit like uniforms and car. Like instead of driving like a fucking iced out or tinted out sorry,
Dodge
what are they called?
Charger, like they all have here,
murdered
yeah.
out Dodge Charger in like all
Murdered
black, like all black military fatigues and like glistening with fiber optics and weaponry and everything else. Like, what if they just had to drive like a lime green Beetle with like the little dancing flower on the dash?
Yes.
and they just had to wear what do you call it? Like the people on the sports ball that call the shots with the white and black.
Outfits.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that would be great for visibility.
Referee.
Actually, you see somebody walking around in a fucking referee outfit. If you actually are in trouble.
Chris, I say we double down on this. We get some Visco Girl cops. That's exactly what we need.
What Bisco Girl?
Oh yeah, Visco Girl. Are you not familiar with that term?
No, what is that?
There's a popular image editing app that has evolved into a particular subculture called Visco, VSCO, and it's a whole aesthetic. And trying to picture cops just dressed up like a bunch of chicks at the beach in the referee outfits and the lime green bugs driving around really is pretty funny to me.
Yo, I'm here for
they
it.
have the
understand
oversized
this so much, I'm
T-shirts
sorry.
and like the sandals with the 2 straps over it.
Hey, it looks comfy. They might not be like approaching the house, with the guns drawn. They might just be
Yeah,
like,
no,
hey,
they like
how are
roll
you
on the
doing?"
window like, "Excuse me, sir. Yeah, you. Do you need assistance? We see you're out here in this dark alley. Just wanted to check and see, if you're... Oh, no, this is my place. Okay, cool. That's fine. Awesome." Continues on their way.
Damn. Holy
do it.
shit. Yeah, like... And you touched on it a moment ago, but the whole fucking, pseudo-fascist aesthetics that they pursue constantly and intentionally I say pseudo-fascist, it's like, just fascist.
Yeah, less pseudo every day.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm being nice to the fucking Punisher stickers they all have.
Hey, they're Joker stickers now. Thank you very much.
Right. We
Oh,
established
really?
that in the canon.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, they're now really adopting Deathstroke, which is really weird in general.
Isn't Deathstroke a bad guy?
Yeah, I mean, like,
I don't know comics
yeah, but,
that well,
Bo, that's not the surprising part. Oh, wow, the cops are adapting the iconography of a bad guy? Hold on. No, it's just that he's not that well known of a character in general.
Yeah, that's kind of what was my next thought. Is that it's kind of a deep cut to really drive home what a piece of shit you are.
Yeah. Not to gatekeep DC fandom, but I think you need to have a certain IQ to understand the true nature of Deathstroke. And
That's the
his
cop
complicated
gradient.
morality.
Yeah, just enough IQ to understand Deathstroke, not too much IQ to where you're disqualified from being a police person.
Yeah, I always enjoyed the amoral, boomerized Captain America mercenary type. So
I like the idea of I haven't read much specifically in like anarchist theory about community like policing and such, but I really like the idea of basically making it so that there aren't there's not like there wouldn't be like a Houston police department. There would be like all the different small like sheriff stations around that would be just members of that community that know everybody in that community, because I think that contributes a lot more to them being on edge with on edge and scared about all these people, these millions of people that live in this urban area that they have to police.
Yeah, being behind enemy lines every day.
Yeah. If it's literally just like 3 neighborhoods that you patrol, and you like know these people,
And you like live there, yeah.
Yeah, you live there. That's your neighborhood, and you know these people, and you're like comfortable with them, and your policing is literally just like, oh hey Margaret, I saw you're speeding today. Don't do that because that's bad.
Yeah, if I see that again, you're getting a fucking ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I see that again, I'm shooting your dog.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Fucking
Yeah.
Sergeant French, the guy that killed Edson, the same year he did that, he killed an elderly dog on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Aw.
that sucks.
Seriously, help us get this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, fired.
This podcast is satire, okay? Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough.
Cops are- Yeah,
I was-
cops are bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad now. So, Kelvin, what else?
I was gonna say that's plenty of ink spilled about dead pigs. Let's talk about other livestock.
Smooth
nice.
transition. Professional broadcasting.
Yeah.
Why talk about dead pigs when we can talk about dead bulls? That's right. 5 dead bulls found dead in Oregon, and then the story gets weird.
You said they were dead.
In
bulls
Oregon.
found dead. Is that what you told me?
Yeah. Meaning the reporter didn't find 5 live bulls, kill them, and then start investigating themselves.
So you're telling me you went to sleep and then tomorrow you woke up dead? That's a classic scary movie reference for all you Scary Movie 2 fans. I think is that
Surprisingly enough, for
there.
Oregon, this was not a sex crime.
Okay.
Other theories, though, have popped up, including bugs, speculation about why they mutilated, if it's a cult or aliens or what. And so, I mean, I just really like this story because it's a simpler time. Like, this is the sort of thing that 4 years ago, I think, would have dominated the news headlines in this area for 2.5 days. And instead, it was a blip, and then everyone forgot about it. But those bulls are still dead, still mutilated.
Yeah, and cattle mutilations are like not unheard of. Like, this is a thing that happens, I feel like, every couple years.
I've seen Food Inc. You don't
Yeah.
have to talk to me about cattle mutilation.
Yeah, and it's like even in the article it cites stuff that happened in the 1970s, and like you were just saying, it was a news story then instead of just like a footnote in the general ambient weirdness that is just always happening very loudly.
In the U.S. in general, at large.
Oh yeah. I like to think, not to sound too patriotic, but I like to think we have our own very special flavor of weird. But yeah, this is it's always interesting to see a throwback like this.
Yeah. I mean, especially because it came combined with news that we're just now supposed to accept the fact that there are zombie deer running around now. It's fine. Don't worry about it. There's this contagious neurological disorder found in deer nationwide. The illness has spread to 26 states. Causes emaciation, loss of bodily function, and this is the coolest fact of all, lack of fear of humans.
All right, so hear me out. I'm sure y'all are all aware that the fucking Walking Dead's numbers have been dropping a little bit. You know,
I've been dripping a little bit.
They've been dripping. They've been decomposing. Whatever you fucking want to say.
The outfits have been getting better. I will agree.
Yeah. I think this is one of them quite literal viral marketing campaigns.
The scientists are attacking the illness's name as being inaccurate and non-scientific, but I want to defend here today that zombie deer is a scientific and accurate term for this wasting disease. Official stance.
It seems to be some type of like prion disease or whatever. They described it similar to mad cow, and that human contagion of it is highly possible, but I don't think that they've said any reported conditions of humans actually catching it.
Yet, okay, listen. There could still be one rogue sheriff in Atlanta, Georgia, that wakes up in a hospital bed and finds out that zombie deers have taken over.
I was gonna ask, have these deers, have they discovered deer with the disease anywhere in or near Florida? Because I mean,
it will start there somehow.
Yeah.
Just a real dark Bambi reboot. The hunter kills Bambi's mom.
And she
Bambi's
gets
mom
back up.
slowly rises, but it's not the same. We have Pet Cemetery meets Bambi meets Walking Dead.
shit, I would actually totally watch that. That's the shitty movie we should pitch to Netflix. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been watching Warship Down recently. Have y'all heard of that series?
No.
no.
It's a limited TV series based on a 1970s book. It's about a bunch of rabbits that they go on like a survival mission, basically.
Sorry, I thought you said Warship Down.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Watership Down. My bad.
Warship Down sounds like I don't know, like a bad.
It's Battleship 2, Warship Down.
God,
Yeah, it has Lizzo in it.
Okay, no, never mind. It's good again.
So what's the plot of it?
Basically, a rabbit has a vision that their little warren, their village, is going to get destroyed. So he's like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And so then they leave, and then they find out that his vision was right, and then he keeps on having visions. But there's this whole mythos built around it, and it is truly, truly something that I'm so glad that I have a loving partner and a child now, because I am all about this, and there's no way if I was single I could ever convince someone I'm dating to watch this with me.
Is it animated?
This is something where I'm just like, I mean, it really seems to be just at first it appears like a generic bunny traveling around type thing. I was like, I think my kid would like it. Let me watch the first episode to be sure. And then like, these are some adult themes, and these are some threats of violence against each other. Oh, that rabbit's having a vision where all the tree roots are skeletons? My God. Okay. Well then, this is a show for Dad to watch now.
And this is an animated show?
Yes, yeah, it's animated on Netflix. Has like a A1 cast: James McAvoy, Nicholas Hoult, Peter Capaldi,
Nice.
Olivia Colman, a couple of other people.
Nice.
It's pretty good. But anyways, all of that is to go without saying that there's another animal death story on the docket. And guess what, people? We're going to Thailand because 11 elephants plunged to their deaths in the, quote, Ravine of Hell waterfall, which is arguably the most metal name for any waterfall, I think, to ever exist.
Yeah, I like that the conservation efforts in this elephant preserve, Elephant National Park. Conservation efforts include making sure that nobody else goes to the Ravine of Hell. Having a Ravine of Hell is, important.
Oh yeah, that's and especially having the Ravine of Hell accessible to the elephants, because they.
Yeah,
but is it ADA accessible, Bo? That's the real question.
Well, it's Thailand, so I don't know if the American Disability Act applies, but it could be TDA accessible for all I know.
It's EDA accessible. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. No, the real. If you are having despite that long conversation about police brutality and just the absolute state of things in the U.S., if that already didn't ruin your day, this article says that the elephants were they died trying to reach an already dead calf at the bottom of the waterfall, which I know. Yeah. Also, if the talking about cops murdering people didn't ruin your day, but this did. Fucking come on!
I mean,
get your shit together. Reevaluate some things.
Like, to be fair, it is very hard to have this ruin your day if you're imagining the Benny Hill song in the background while these 11 elephants are all dying.
God.
The Benny Hill song "Death Ravine."
yeah, Death Ravine, my favorite Benny Hill song.
Ravine of Hell. By Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, that's the thing. They really did name this thing like anticipating, like a lot of death to happen. Like this isn't one of those like pristine, gorgeous rainforest cafe ass waterfalls. This is like, oh yeah, let's make this as fucking metal as possible.
Yeah, first and 6 elephants fall off of a cliff. Shame on me. But...
Yeah, and also these are elephants. Elephants aren't stupid.
Yeah, they're smart animals. They're
highly. Yeah, they're incredibly sentimental. They're one of the only mammals that goes through funeral rites and like travels like great distances just to say what up to fam.
Saying what up to fam, feeling dun, 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 dun. This is going on for too long.
Yeah, no, I'm
stop
cutting
it,
the whole.
please.
I'm cutting that whole fucking that part.
Have you guys ever seen? Have you guys ever seen Ong Bak
No, I haven't.
or the Protector?
I think I've seen the Protector. I wouldn't remember it though.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Thailand is movies from. Hold on, I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Tony Jaa. He was like a Muay Thai like action hero, and like if you guys haven't seen those movies and you like action movies, go see Ong Bak 1. I think it goes through 3, and there's also a movie called The Protector, and it's just Tony Jaa being a total fucking badass the entire time. But at a couple points in some of the movies, he rides a elephant.
Cool.
You had
yeah.
my interest at he rides an elephant. That's one thing where I feel like you're an actor, it's got to be one of those moments where like, no, I'll do this stunt, okay? You're going to let me ride this goddamn elephant. My insurance policy be damned. This is what we're doing here.
I wasn't molested by that casting director just to not ride an elephant.
To not ride an elephant. Oh no, he's going into the ravine of death. Why? Oh.
Perfect. That's the way I want to go out. I want my body thrown into the ravine of hell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ravine of hell. My apologies.
Yeah.
I've called it
right.
so many different things. It's all right, Kel.
I'm just now picturing, all the picture of the lemmings falling off of a cliff.
But it's
elephants. But it's elephants, but it's like barrel of monkey style elephants. Like they're all trying to like work their way down. Where like if enough elephants jump off, it creates a soft cushion for the last elephant. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no.
Yeah. At least in Thailand, they name things accurately. Like we have in the United States, we keep having these wildfires in California, and it's like, this one we're going to call it the campfire.
Yeah, it's fine.
What's the one that's going on right now? There's some other hokey ass like name.
Let's Google it.
God. Yeah. There's so many.
This is like police brutality incidents. Like I don't keep count. I think it's Saddle Ridge fire.
Ugh, that sounds like a fucking ranch company. Like that sounds like, oh yeah, they got the Saddle Ridge like low calorie ranch, the Saddle Ridge
They got the
fucking
horses in the
spicy
back.
ranch. Yeah, that too. Yep.
The Saddle Ridge fire, the Sandalwood fire.
Yeah, Sandalwood fire.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, that's even worse. That's a fucking that is just a candle name.
Yeah.
Could they?
Yes, this destruction is horrible, but it smells so good.
But yo, that shit is crazy. Have you guys been following this? Like, apparently, like 5 million people are gonna have their power out for like, indefinitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's like over 1% of the population of the United States.
That's insane. It's fucking crazy.
It's a big issue in California specifically because these blackouts are not because infrastructure is being destroyed by the fire. These blackouts are happening because one of the big companies, PG&E, that owns all of the infrastructure, has refused to upgrade any of it or maintain it properly. And so their solution to these dangerous conditions that are creating these giant blazes is to turn off the power to their equipment and take away power from their customers.
So how these guys have gone bankrupt, right? Like, how are they able to operate? How is it not, in the richest state in the United States that the energy grid hasn't just at least been, statized, if not nationalized?
I mean, they filed for bankruptcy after being forced to pay out because of the last fire that their equipment caused.
And now
So-
they're worried about what, like the fiscal loss of causing another fire. So instead, they're going
They'll
to kill
be-
people through denying them power.
Through their inaction. Yeah.
They'll be damned if they actually fix their shit
Yeah.
Yeah,
before
see,
they
I-
look
I-
out for their own financial interests.
Well, looking into the story, I was trying to figure out what equivalent to populations would be, and so here were a couple takes that I was thinking of. I was like, well, if Costa Rica lost power, the United States would do something about that. And then I was like, well, shit. And then the other population equivalents, I'm like, well, listen, if the state of Palestine lost power, the United States, well, shit.
If the state of Palestine lost power, it'd probably be the U.S. flipping the switch.
They only have like 2 to 3 hours of power a day on a good day.
Yeah. But yeah, this is absolutely wild. And I mean, I don't see it getting better either. So that's great.
Yeah, it's great that this company is just. I mean, I wouldn't even describe this as like eco-fascism. This is just like literally the profit motive of capitalism outweighing any like decent humanity.
Overall
even?
common good. Yeah.
Like common good. Like this doesn't even take humanity. This is just like basic. Like, oh hey, by the way, we have to maintain our equipment if we're going to be a power company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. They don't, because they're a monopoly. Like fucking basically everyone you ever talk to, the power company in the area is more or less going to be a monopoly,
Yeah, and like Chris was saying, why hasn't power been nationalized?
Yeah. Well, honestly, it should be. Fucking every utility should be. But especially as something as, fundamental to, fundamental to day-to-day life and fucking, let alone the 21st century, the last one. Like, this shit should not be up for, there should be no profit motive involved in this. It should be just a public common good. But
and a big critique I have is shitheads that talk about like, oh well, capitalism is what's driven all this innovation and stuff that we get to experience. Access to energy has driven more innovation than any dickhead that's selling snake oil.
Yeah, I mean that's really true. I mean, if you look at like the last 300 years of industrialization, it's not like people suddenly got way smarter out of nowhere. We figured out how to utilize ancient sunlight, and then suddenly we went from horse-drawn buggies and only being able to fertilize our crops with manure to being in space, and we're probably headed back in the former direction, eventually, like unless we can figure out as a species how to like get our shit together before we have a Mad Max style tussle over the last dregs.
yeah.
Thank God, I just want a grill.
Do you guys think if I phrased it as if Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alaska, and just for good measure, Delaware all were without power, the United States would give a fuck?
I don't know. Puerto Rico is still without power in areas, right?
Yeah. I don't think for many of those states people would notice for a whole while.
Oh, that's just me. Yeah, no, I mean, after the hurricane response by the federal government, I really don't have a lot of confidence in in the response of any part of our representative democracy in actually caring about people on such an individual scale.
Yeah.
Like the money that Raytheon makes because of government contracts and its equipment being used in war theaters around the fucking globe. Like, you think they give a fuck about like the workers that are complaining about their working conditions? They don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that the broad expanse of the amount of things that profit motive has stolen from us as individuals, has stolen from us as as communities is staggeringly, and I mean that's just the alienation of capitalism itself. Which much bigger subject, smarter people have said smarter things about it, but that the alienation of capitalism is literally like we don't deserve anything. We don't care about what has brought us to this point because we're so enamored with the concept of our company making money and giving money to our investors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're all hustling. All 8 billion of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us have 8 billion. Some of us have some hustle, but it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like with the internet, you could be having this conversation with me from another country. Like I feel very much that the culture and the drama that goes on between nations is so instantly felt that it almost seems like national borders and stuff are like outdated, like that.
Yeah,
they're like
like Adobe.
Yeah,
Interesting idea you got there.
but
Adobe and the Ecuador like revolts. Like Adobe was like, oh hey, by the way, U.S. government said we can't give you access to this, so sorry guys.
Yeah, it's really odd, and I think like if capitalism were to go, I feel like nationalism would be very quick to follow because we already have this like hyper competitive nature with our fellow neighbors, humans, everybody, like, and we worry so much about our individual stake in that competition, and we don't want to like get together and have collective action for trying to make our collective situation very much better because it puts us all under the crosshairs of the punitive apparatus. But like if we were to ever have like real socialism in like the United States or really in any real country that was big, I think it would very quickly be like, oh yeah, we could do this on the planet scale, and like we probably ought to because it's getting ever more crowded and ever more like hot, and we need to indefinitely expand the extraction and consumption of the finite amount of resources that are available. Like, but we don't actually have to do that. We only have to do that to be able to return profit to people who are lending things for the purpose of profiting.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's exactly the thing too. Is I mean, we already do extract more than enough resources, and we end up wasting so many because some asshole had an idea for hey, I'm gonna it's like, you guys ever think of those Garfield phones that washed up on that beach in France? Like that's a real minor specific example, but
no, I haven't heard of this.
Like, yeah, basically there's this one beach in somewhere in France where they just apparently a cargo ship at some point lost a shipment of like tacky 80s Garfield phones, and just that beach is just constantly fucking covered in them and has been for years.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's really
finding them.
It's really surreal. Yeah, continually finding them. Yeah, it's really just like a sad, surreal late capitalist story. It's great. But that's the thing.
Whoa.
Like, there's no need for a fucking bunch of Garfield phones. Like, there's no need for so much shit. Like,
and it's not even that there's no need for it. It's that the resources that it took to make Garfield phones were so much better spent.
So many other ways.
And on literally anything.
Yeah. The point I'm making with my very dumb example is that it's not even like a matter of
They're surplus.
Yeah, it's not a matter of some Malthusian idea of there's too many people and not enough to go around. There's plenty to go around. We just don't have it organized at all.
Yeah, and there may not be enough to go around in the very, very long term. Like if we're talking trying to survive as a unified civilization as a species, like we are right now for 1,000 years, I don't think we're gonna make it. Like to be like completely honest, like I like to think of myself as an idealist and an optimist, but like we don't even have a realistic plan of like surviving the next 100 years as like
let alone 1,000.
Yeah. So we definitely can. Like Malthus wasn't necessarily wrong, but the issue is just there's a ranked tiers of priorities, and like right now to like feed everybody on the planet, we could absolutely do it. Like, you know, that isn't a scientific debate to have, you know.
And that's not even a oh, it's so hard to do that. IBM machine learning is making our U.S. manufacturers so much more effective. It's just fucking give the food to people who want it and
need it
and need it, and everybody will have enough food, and that's how it works.
Yeah, even
we have an overabundance of food. That's just in the U.S. That's not even like, you know, between other countries.
Can you imagine if there was an IBM ad that just said like, well, if you want to save the planet, some of us are just going to have to die without power. IBM.
Yeah,
we've crunched the numbers.
Yeah. Oh God. If for us to maintain our market share and for the climate to be saved, some of you are gonna have to go.
And that, and that's some of the thing, you know, I've been getting involved with Extinction Rebellion in terms of some like environmental activism, and that's one of the things that's going on as a debate amongst the activists is like some people are approaching the climate crisis with sort of like a Malthusian perspective of just like there's just too many people, and it's like you're right in that. Yeah, that there are probably more people than can be long-term sustained on this planet, like especially without, you know, a massive fossil fuel extraction and exploitation. But like that's not really a strategy to like let everybody die or like kill everybody. Like that's not going to.
What's that Avenue Q song? Everyone's a little eco-fascist sometimes.
yeah. Like eco-fascism is like one of the you know, natural reactions, I think, to the combination of this extremely capitalistic state of, you know, play that we're in on the game rules that we have, and the realization of like how fucked we are. But like it can go so many different ways. Like ultimately what we're talking about is changing the game rules by which we play. And like one thing we could do is just, I don't know, impose a wealth tax and like have an international billionaire treaty.
The smallest of steps, please.
Yeah, like I mean, say we wanted to be super generous and we wanted to just like cap people's wealth at like $10 million. You know, like you can still never work again. You can still live in a fucking mansion. You can still pass down like a ton of fucking unearned privilege and wealth to your kids.
And everything would still be free for you. You'd still have free healthcare. You'd still have, free whatever food.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're giving away here.
I don't mean to be too much of, too heavy-handed with this, but it's in their mutual best interest if they
I hear you.
It's a
total turn to camera moment right there.
Yeah. Ultimately, like I think that there's a phrase that I really like: guillotine insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, that's precisely what it is. Because at some point, I mean, it's going to get bad enough. You know,
where did this idea come from? Aside from like outright genocidal maniacs, where did the idea come from that we need to lower the population in order to?
Well, ultimately, it's this the guy Malthus. So the Malthusian concept was came up with before. What's his name? I got to look at this up. The German scientist who created the process of producing artificial fertilizer. 1 second. So this guy who also was the first person to develop and use chemical weapons on the battlefield created Fritz Haber. He and this other guy created a process called the Haber cycle that is used to generate artificial fertilizer by taking nitrogen from the air and fixing it in a chemical form that could then be distributed. And if it wasn't for this, we would have hit carrying capacity a long time ago for the planet, like in terms of arable soil and like how much we could actually like produce and feed people, we would have hit it already. But because we have this access to, you know, ancient sunlight in the form of
fertilization,
and which is going away, you know, in the very long term. Like we're not going to have cheap fossil fuels indefinitely because it takes millions of years to produce them. But
this is a pro-nuclear podcast.
No. I guess for me, like we talk about a lot of stuff really open-ended on Ironweeds, but like I guess I'm coming at it as a eco-socialist degrowth strategy. Like the only reason we need growth, economic growth, is to be able to pay back debts plus interest. Like that's ultimately the only real reason we need it. And so the idea of putting in a degrowth strategy outside of overthrowing the capitalist confines on all of our individual lives is austerity. And that's sort of where the eco-fascism comes in. It's like, well, we're all going to have to live on a lot less, and we're going to have to enforce that, through violence. And
wow, I can't wait until my parents stop telling me that I need to get a real job and I should have become a doctor because, then I would have had more material goods in my name.
But still, we're going to have doctors. So, like, what does eco-socialism look like? I think that it's probably going to be something like what's going on in Cuba, where
God bless Cuba.
But ultimately, it's like figuring out how to reframe the sticks and carrots, the incentive structure, the game rules by which we, are all behaving is the work of revolution, right? Because if you just replace the assholes, you get the failed state capitalist experiments that largely took up so much of the time. But
so much time and resources, lives and.
So it's on all of us as leftists to try to work together to come up with some type of shared vision of the future in like a set of incentives and disincentives that would encourage, actual collaboration and like survival into the 21st century. And like right now it's like very open-ended. Like nobody really knows. Like nobody really even knows how to take, quote unquote climate action. So like there's a lot of anger at Extinction Rebellion for like a lot of really valid reasons, like there's a lot of like cop kissing libs. There's a lot of people who are being held up from their working class jobs and potentially even losing their jobs because of like traffic being shut down and what have you. And it's got a lot of valid criticisms. But the other thing is like, well, what the fuck else are we supposed to do? Just go to work? Like, just keep the capitalist siege engine that's destroying the ecosystem,
just
going
go to work,
forward?
Ignore that the planet is, slowly becoming unlivable. And, about that retirement fund.
So like this past week, I went down to New York City and I took part in an action where I basically took a bunch of fake blood and like splashed the entrance to the New York Stock Exchange and then just like laid down and refused to move. And like that was a symbolic gesture. That didn't bring about any type of material gains for the human species or even
the aesthetics
anybody.
are super cool, but
But I made people mad, which is like I guess sort of the point, but like I don't know what a material action that would actually do something better for people's lives looks like, because it's about system change. It's about changing and I have no idea what it's even going to take to do that. Mass mobilization,
That's exactly the thing. Yeah, I could tomorrow drive down to a fucking. I'm sure there's some oil company's headquarters in one of the fucking skyscrapers downtown here. I could put a brick through their window tomorrow, hypothetically, and nothing would change. They would get their window fixed, and that's a very minor example of what one could do or a group could do. But like you said, even if you guillotined every fucking billionaire we got. Then you just have more in line, playing by the same rules, so to speak.
Yeah, because
they
it's
have
inevitable.
Heirs.
Yeah.
That's why in Deuteronomy, the Lord says to kill every man, woman, child, and salt the earth. So
we're trying to save the earth here, Zach. We're trying to make it more livable.
A good Christian, I gotta say.
Yeah. See, I just want to give some credit to Chris, because I understand you're downplaying your activism, but I do think it is commendable that you're actually doing that, putting boots on the ground, so to speak, and doing real world change, because someone's going to see that, and then that's how you ultimately change the hearts and minds, is through the real world, and not through a podcast where I've spent the past 4 minutes trying to figure out how I can make a degrowth sponsored by Blue Chew kind of joke.
Well, who knows? Ultimately, like in my opinion, I appreciate that, and thank you, because like, there's a lot of criticism, and it's somewhat disheartening, especially when I got to go back to court and pay fines, and like, it's like it's scary dealing with
so
cops.
many punitive measures for
but
relatively minor act.
Yeah, but at the same time, realistically,
I don't want to say minor, harmless. Yeah.
The way I view it is it's pretty close to a public freakout. I just think it's a justified public freakout. Like I think that like we're in a position right now where like I wish there was something more radical, more intersectional, more appropriate or materially advanced movement that I could join.
Yeah, systemic
but there's
and
not.
wide-reaching. Yeah.
There's Extinction Rebellion right now. And that's and there was Occupy Wall Street 8 years ago, and I got arrested on the Brooklyn Bridge because we were trapped. And it's not like I think that nonviolent civil disobedience is like the thing that gets the goods. Like I think direct action gets the goods, but like how the fuck do you take direct action in a way against the flows of carbon into our atmosphere that aren't basically the exact same thing that we're just shitting on PG&E for doing? Like you could do eco-terrorism. You could like burn down factories or shut down power systems or release an EMP and throw us all back into the dark ages and stuff. But like, we're going to probably, unfortunately, get there anyway because of just the ongoing crises and collapse of capitalism under its own, pretenses. And so, like, the question for me is, like, what, as a moral individual who's, paying a lot of attention to this, what's, like, the best form of, like, like pain mitigation or damage reduction that can be done? And so I think podcasting like you guys are doing is important. I think that basically trying to create an atmosphere where people can collaborate on building a shared vision of a future that doesn't have the same fundamental flaws is but like it's going to take a lot of us, and who knows, maybe it'll be the Twitter woke scolds who come up with the mechanism of change. I'm down for it if that's the case. Like I basically,
if we can cancel climate change, I mean, by all means, yeah.
I'd be down with it. Like I really don't care who comes up with it. Like I have no a hero or savior complex. I just realize that like we're an exponentially expanding economically and biologically on a finite planet that is undergoing stress. And the thing about exponential growth, I'm an engineer, so I'm going to nerd out on you guys real quick.
No, by all means,
is that it shares the exact same shape regardless of the scale. So if you take one and you raise it by 5% every minute, and you look from minute 0 to an hour, it looks like an exponential curve, which is it's very flat for a while, and then it just hockey sticks into the top of the graph. Now, if you look at it from 0 minutes to 10,000 minutes, it has the exact same shape. So the issue is, where are the bounds? And what's scary about exponential growth is that you only really notice that you're like expanding into the bounds in like the last little bit. And so if our bounds are the ability for this ecosystem to maintain complex life, or the ability for us to, continue to extract resources and keep from, setting the whole West Coast on fire, or, like just ecological or the straight up climate, creating all these superstorms. Like if those are the stressors sort of letting us know that we're like near the end of the bounds by which we're about to hockey stick our economic and biological growth into, like there's very little time left. And that's the thing that, like, I guess keeps me up at night. And, like ultimately if humanity gets wiped out or whatever, like, whatever, dust to dust. But like,
yeah, there's nobody going to be around to mourn us, at least,
Yeah, but like, I don't think it's really going to be like that. I think it's just going to keep getting worse and worse for the future generations. And so like, the work that we need to do is come up with a way of life and a way of interacting with each other and our environment that is fundamentally not mathematically impossible, and like
based on the lessons that we've learned so far, and isn't just like ignoring the lessons and being like, oh, but we have solar panels and fertilizer,
everything's fine now. To bust out a cliche that I think sums up what you were saying very well. You can't have exponential growth with finite resources.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's something that we are going to find out one way or another. And if we're not going to, try and take preventative action from it getting too bad, it's going to get really, really bad. And it's going to get really bad either way is sort of like the attitude that I have as a scientist and engineer. It's like, so the big thing about climate change, right, is that it's a rate differential. So we are in space, we've got an atmosphere and there's no air or water or anything outside of the atmosphere. So the only way that we exchange energy is through radiation. And so radiation is actually pretty simple to understand. If you have a really hot body, it radiates at a frequency that is very high frequency. And
I'd say I'm, mid to high frequency. Go on.
So like the sun is emitting a large spectrum of light, a lot of which is in like the UV and like high frequency light ranges. And so those photons can pierce through our cloud layer. They can hit the Earth, and they can continue to add energy to, if you draw a black box or whatever around the Earth, keep adding energy into it. So essentially that's the equivalent of like having, a resistive heater on. And then we have the issue of fossil fuels being burned, which does two things. It's like having another, resistive heater on, because we're taking chemical energy in the form of ancient sunlight into these, chemical bonds, and we're turning it into latent heat. And then we're also producing a change in our environment where it can hold more heat, and it starts blocking the radiation from the surface of the planet into space, which is because, the surface of the planet isn't nearly the surface of the sun. It tends to irradiate,
at least not yet.
It tends to irradiate in infrared. And so infrared is blocked by water, it's blocked by carbon dioxide and methane, and those gas molecules have more mass so that they can hold more thermal energy, sort of like how when you're eating a burrito that you microwaved, the beans are always way hotter than the rice like 10 minutes later, because the bean has more thermal mass, because it's like a little wetter or something. And so like we have this rate differential going on where every single day and every single year we're taking in more energy from the sun than we're putting out into space. And if we were to stop carbon emissions immediately, say a neutron bomb went off and all of human life, including, and a lot of mammalian life, just died. And so like civilization stops, we stop emitting, carbon, pollution. Who knows when that energy balance will ever be really resolved. And so that's a frightening thing, because that sort of, lends itself to the thinking of like, oh, well, we artificially created this crisis. We probably have to engineer artificially, solve it. Like whether it's, putting fucking glitter in the fucking ionosphere to raise the emissivity of the atmosphere.
That's exactly the thing. Is like not only do we have to change the fundamental. I mean, I say fundamental. It's not that fundamental.
We have to unite the wine moms and Etsy our way out of this.
No, but not only do we have to
will save us all.
But like,
not only do we have to totally, to return to the game fucking analogy we've been using. Not only do we have to rewrite the rules of the global game of capitalism and of just how civilization is organized on this planet, we've also got to play harm reduction against the laws of physics.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly staggering work, and I mean, like you said earlier, it's impossible not to feel at least a little hopeless. But I mean, we can't.
But well, the thing is, like, you can feel hopeless and still do the right thing, Yeah, because like
exactly.
I think that one of the things that keeps people from doing anything is like this idea of holding on to a hope that somehow we're going to save ourselves or somebody else is going to do it. Like I'm pretty sure
Iron Man's going to fly in and fucking snap his fingers.
I'm pretty sure we're fucked with a capital F. But that doesn't keep me from, like, I don't know, doing public freakouts every so often and going to jail, or like, like doing my best to sort my fucking recycling, or like learn how to garden and like help my neighbors and everything else. Because like ultimately, I think that the fucked with a capital F is my destiny, and like if I end up having kids, their destiny. And so it's a question of like, all right, well, how do we want to live in the time left that we have, and how are we going to live when things get harder? when like
Yeah.
gasoline isn't $3, and like
Yep.
figure like everything else that we need, to produce from the fertilizer we were talking about to maintain the populace, to the clothes and the electronics and everything else, like figuring out how we can live more resiliently in the face of PG&E grid shutdowns and things like that. Like this is all points to very similar directions. It's like collaboration, knowing your neighbor, being a decent human being,
forming
like
a community.
Working less. Like producing less shit, consuming less shit. And, like I'm as guilty as any motherfucker out there. But like ultimately, like I realized that, lifestyleism at its zenith would say that the best thing I could do would be like blow my own brains out, right? But if I blow my own brains out,
take the full doomer approach,
yeah. But if I blow my own brains out, I'm not going to organize with my neighbor. I'm not going to like build equal socialism. I'm not going to like help everybody get together and like make the best out of this fuck situation.
Yeah, who will subscribe to those e-girl Patreons? Huh? Think of it.
You claim to hate capitalism, but you still have a pulse. Checkmate.
Yeah.
I think it's I think that there's a lot of theory discussion about like, what will we do in the future when when we have to create a government, and it's like, all right, but that's not what the problem is.
That's not even the step we're at this point. Yeah, we
the
just
step
need
that we're
to
at is, hey, we need to like, and this is gonna sound a little anarchist because I'm a little anarchist. We need to
I didn't know.
live well. Sorry, you had to find out like this, bro.
He was gonna wait until Thanksgiving, but you caught him in the act.
Yeah, we need to set up communes and live in communes and have gardens like you have and live off of our gardens a lot more than we do, and that would be a fantastic first step. That would actually be such a massive first step compared to what we have right now.
Yeah,
I agree with you, and that's ultimately the reason why I went and did this public freakout. Is like I'm friends with this guy Christian who lives down the road, and he spends all his time with his 2 kids and building like permaculture in the urban environment in which he lives, and like has set down roots, and he's putting in perennial fruit and nut bushes and just tending to the land and making it produce more and more, and building soil and teaching his neighbors and just like being like a really fucking awesome, rad, like model citizen of the future.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And he was like, yo,
Trad
I'm gonna go do this thing, like you want to come with me? And I was just like, fuck yeah. Like you got more to lose than me, and like if you're going down with this, like I wouldn't even research the fucking group before I did it, like, and or looked on, I try to spend as little time on Twitter as I can, but like
humble brag.
But no, the point is like I have an addiction to social media, and I'm really bad at it. But like ultimately, like I went down because like that dude is like living by example in a way that I look up to a lot, and if he's down, he's got kids and he's gonna fucking nonviolently resist and go to court and everything fucking else. Like I'm gonna at least support him. Like, he seems to be way wiser about how to deal with living in the 21st century than I am. I'm working a 40-hour week job trying to like figure out how to pay off this house and like everything else. But yeah, whereas he got a house from the fucking, we have this like auction where people who have like abandoned property, the city like ends up owning it. And so he got a house with his partner, and he's like rehabbing it like crazy, but it's all like his own labor with like materials he dumpster dives and everything else. So, like, just when I think of like the way I ought to be living, like this guy is like, my friend and best example. And so that's sort of the story of why I ended up going down.
Is your friend Tyler Durden? I'm hearing you have this cool friend who lives in a real fixer-upper.
Yeah, exactly.
I am Jack's existential dread caused by capitalism.
Well, fuck. This was really great.
Thanks so much for having me on. Like, it's such an honor. I really like your podcast, and you guys are doing great work.
Oh no! Come on.
It's hardly work for us when we get to listen to people like you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Really lets us be able to go on autopilot and be like, yes, indeed, what he said.
Yeah, no, when I mean, I feel like at least somebody says it once an episode, somebody smarter and more well-spoken than me has better ideas on this. I'm glad we could have that person on the podcast this episode.
Oh, you're making me blush, but thank you.
Good,
It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Your face will be as red as the revolution.
So where can people find you? What's coming up next? What's the next big project that's going down?
So I'll just plug the podcast, which is Ironweeds, and Twitter Ironweeds Pod, Facebook. Instagram. We're not on Facebook. Instagram Ironweeds Pod, and we have a donation thing, buymeacoffee.com/ironweeds. And anybody who either rates us on iTunes or throws us coffee, we're producing some bonus content. We don't do nearly as much as you guys do. We just do about one episode a week, and the bonus content right now is like one episode a month, and we just email that to people because right now we have like so few followers and listens that it's like not a hard thing to manage individually.
It's bespoke. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll probably do a Patreon at some point. We're having a lot of fun with it. This past episode we did got pretty heated because we discussed, the Extinction Rebellion and the existential threat to life on Earth and materialism versus symbolic protest and like a whole bunch of other stuff. So that was a really interesting conversation. And then we actually had a really fun thing because Brittany, who does all the editing and really does the heavy lifting for the show, is like a huge history buff and has been reading this whole week about the anti-rent wars, which happened in upstate New York. So our podcast tends to focus like both locally and globally and nationally, like in and out of those lenses of magnification. And so Brittany has been doing this research on the anti-rent wars, and she's been leading us through the story. And we finished part 1 on that episode where we were talking about climate change as well, and that'll be coming out sometime this coming week. And then we're gonna have part 2 the following week. So yeah. So far, and all the episodes just keep getting funner and funner to do and funner to listen to. So just check it out.
Well, cheers. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean that sounds awesome. Do we have anything going on that we need to plug, fellas?
Just all the usual bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Just check out our link tree.
Yeah, we have more 15 Million Flowers episodes. We're starting to get like a bunch of guests, so I think we're gonna start releasing it like regularly on a schedule. That schedule that depends on me actually editing it on time, but
who do we have coming up this Thursday?
This Thursday is going to be Jono from the Crybaby Sleep podcast.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a good episode to record. Yeah.
Yep, it's a great episode. So remember to listen to our 15 Million Flowers episodes. Check our link tree. If you leave us an iTunes review and you call in and leave us a voicemail, we got those the t-shirt giveaways coming up. Join our Discord and just lurk like everyone else does.
Hang out,
I guess.
Post memes, talk sports, I guess.
Yeah, I was about to say, last but not least, the sports show happening on Wednesday nights, the regular Riff and Hangout show happening Friday nights on Twitch. So we are in this to win this, or at the very least, burn out in an effective fashion, right, guys?
Effectively burn out, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, deuces. Thanks for listening to another episode of Psychic Dolphin Garage. Check out our link tree in the show notes so you can join our Discord, watch us on Twitch, and find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Word of mouth is still the best way for us to bring this weird leftist show to as many people as we possibly can. So if you like the episode, please share it with someone. Anyone. Just one other person at your school or office or parole hearing who you think might like what we do. We trust your judgment. Go ahead and also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dolphin Garage. Our music is provided by Amoeba Crew. Find them on Twitter at Amoeba Crew. You can find the link to their YouTube page in our episode description.